Welcome, roomies, back to the Break Room Arcade for the 10th episode of Nintendo Stuff. Sadly, we cannot bring you our faces this time around. We got some silly internet situations going on. I am not currently at home, and I do not have the bandwidth to stream
and I've
video.
never had the bandwidth.
But we are here anyway, and I'm glad you guys can be here. And it's been a strange week for just in general, but also for Nintendo. I can't remember a time where they've delayed a Nintendo Direct before. I don't think it's happened, at least not that I can remember.
Same here.
So, as you guys may know, the Nintendo Direct was delayed, which is disappointing, but it's understandable given the significant earthquake that they had this week in Japan. And so, it doesn't sound like it was too terrible, but obviously there was damage and some lives lost, and so it was only right for Nintendo to delay the event and focus on what really matters. And so yeah, I guess that's kind of just it should be expected, right, that companies do this. But more often than not, I see a lot of companies that, you know, don't have any concern for humanity. They just concern themselves with profits. So you gotta give props to Nintendo, I guess, just for meeting a very basic level of respect and decency. And so, honestly, I'm okay. And we'll get this information sooner or later. There's certainly a lot of bits and pieces of news that probably would have been revealed in the Direct that went ahead and they came out anyway, which it was obviously okay because everybody has deadlines and timelines.
This is one of the few cases where, like, anything that gets spoiled ahead of this Direct now that's been rescheduled, I'm not going to be upset about. This is extenuating circumstances. It's kind of outside of their control in a lot of cases. So if information gets leaked from this, you know, it's okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I hope not too much of the primo content gets leaked before they're able to show it off themselves. But there are a few things that, you know, have already come out. And we'll talk about those things. But to start, we're going to start with the Smash blog. Just like we do every week. So, starting off this week is one of Brandon's
least favorite characters.
Least favorite characters. One of Brandon's favorite characters, Ike.
What are you talking about? Brandon hates Ike.
I'm not so sure about that.
He definitely does not like Ike.
Welcome to the Bickering Room Arcade, where me and Paul just go back and forth disagreeing with each other. And not because we actually disagree with each other, just because Paul's being a little tool, I guess.
Love you too.
Anyway, the description for Ike here on the Smash blog. Ike's side smash attack is extremely powerful, but it leaves him open. So you need to read your opponent's moves carefully. You can choose between his Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn costumes.
There is a lie here, though. It doesn't leave him open enough to get the edge on Brandon.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's true. But, I mean, that could also be attributed to, you know, the other players', you know, missed inputs, right? Because, I mean, when I play against Brandon, I'm like, oh, cool,
wow,
Brandon left himself
the John's
open.
Pre-installed. It's missed inputs. It's not that I missed the opportunity. Missed input.
No, and it's like it's literally like I will try to do an input and then it'll be like well, maybe not missed input, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's the wrong input. I don't know. I'm not gonna get too caught up on it. Brandon's a fantastic Ike. Ike is relatively unchanged, which he didn't really need to be changed, of course. But great character, fun character. I like that they have both of his representations from both games. Something that I am unaware of, though, was this previously in one of the Super Smash Bros. Titles in terms of having both Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn costumes? Because, I mean, by the time Ike was in it, both of those games had been released. Or at least I believe so.
Say we only had one? Brian will let us know in a few minutes.
Right, he'll just put it in the chat. Anyway, we're not going to get too caught up. We all know Ike and a lot of the other things, but it's nice to see him in action. All these characters are great. Paul, if you want to take this next one, be my guest.
Yeah, next up we got King DeDeD. He's not very fast, but he's one of the few heavyweight fighters with great recovery. Apparently, a defeat by Kirby inspired him to train hard and learn to learn a move called hovering.
This isn't hard.
I can't read.
I can't read.
Which allows him to float after taking a deep breath.
Yeah. It's a DDD. He's more beautiful than ever. He got conked over the head by K. Rool, and so I imagine he might be even. He is a little bit faster in this game just because the game is faster, which is surprising because I imagine he'd be slower after that concussion. But he's DDD. I don't know what else there is to say.
Brandon said in the chat, Path of Radiance was in Brawl, Radiant Dawn was in Smash 4. So this is the first time we're getting both together. But he also says that his neutral special has a new outward attack property.
Okay. Wow. Brandon,
Thanks, Brandon.
Where are you? Oh, man. Time for Logan to do a little bit more research. The next post from the Smash blog is the Fortress Boss theme from Super Mario Bros. 3. Talking more about that music. And actually, there wasn't a ton of Smash news. There would have been a ton of Smash news had the Direct actually happened. But there wasn't a ton of Direct news. But as of 2 days ago, Sakurai's, is it weekly or bi-weekly column in Famitsu?
Bi-weekly?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
His column in Famitsu, he talked about music. And we'll talk about that in just a minute because I think this is one of the most interesting things that he has talked about to date. Especially that's caught my attention. And
he's just trying to make a mixtape for himself, ain't he?
Pretty much. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
And we got a stage here. Final Destination. Finally. Woo! Man, I think this is the prettiest Final Destination.
Hands down. This stage looks so cool.
Yeah, even aside from it being HD. Just the design is it's very distinct.
It's bad.
HD.
It's just bad. So
bad. Bad, but in a good way.
The rad kind of bad.
Yeah, the rad bad.
We just took this full 80s. It's so bad.
Yeah. So other than that, it's just Final Destination. I do want to note that I was watching some things about the stages, and the hitboxes on specifically stages like this are much more forgiving. You're not going to necessarily get stuck under a stage. There's not going to, it's just very boxy, which is a lot more practical for the gameplay. And again, just attention to detail. Sakurai just keeps identifying all these issues that we didn't even know existed, in the Smash universe. Or maybe they're not necessarily issues, but things that could be improved. And they keep finding new ways of going about it.
Daddy Sakurai knows what's up.
Yeah, no kidding. And for our last post from the Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Blog, featuring a Pokemon, the Alolan Executor.
The best Pokemon.
Executor.
Executor.
This is just the funniest. This is the funniest Pokemon I have seen to date. Because, like, okay, it doesn't do anything except get in your way.
Basically,
it's
just
literally
divides
just
the field.
It's a mobile wall.
I think this is genuinely going to be like the best Pokemon. Like anytime it gets called, every time it gets summoned, everybody's going to stop what they're doing and just laugh.
Yeah. I mean, Executor was a silly Pokemon to begin with. But when they introduced the Alolan form, obviously
the true form,
in Pokemon Sun and Moon, like, oh my god, just kind of took it to a whole new level.
Nailed it.
Yeah, for sure. So, moving on from the blog, there's only one thing that I felt was really of note this week, from the. Just in terms of Super Smash Bros. News outside of the blog. And so from sourcegaming.info, which has quickly become one of my favorite sites for news. Just because like a lot of news sites are just repeating things that have been announced and everybody knows them. Where Source Gaming, they obviously have somebody who can translate into from Japanese into English, and that's super valuable. So they posted Sakurai's Famitsu column, which the title they put as "No Such Thing as Bad Music in a Great Game," which actually I think is an accurate quote, even from like the actual English translation. What it says through this translation, it says, it really makes me think that there's no such thing as bad music in a great game. Now, what makes him think that? So let's go through this just a little bit. So he starts off, he talks about how there is a lot of songs in this Smash game. They're still making adjustments. The final count may change, but there's still a lot of music, and that's great. He starts talking about the My Music feature and why they brought it back. He starts talking about how he went about emailing all these composers and how many composers. Like, it just sounded like a convention of composers. You know, like Sakurai's like, let's have a Smash composer convention, and just got all of them together.
I mean, it's basically music or video game music history.
Right, exactly. Like so many different franchises and then he talks about some of the limitations and some of the struggles with licensing music from like specifically like third-party games and such. Obviously, it's pretty easy to get the licensing from Nintendo for the Nintendo music, but so he got all these composers together and split them up into groups, and then just proceeded to ask them, like, kind of throw out songs out there, like from his, like, okay, I want these songs in these games from these franchises, and just said like, okay, who wants to do this one? And some people would be like, oh, I want to do that one, so they would compose and arrange that, and it was just like this is such a casual way of doing it, and it's I think it's one of my favorite things about this whole thing is like, it was just like, okay, we need more music and arrangements, and let's just get everybody together, because who wouldn't want to compose arrangements for Smash Bros?
Yeah.
And then he explained some other things that were less interesting. He said there were certain times where he had to kind of make certain suggestions to try to steer the arrangement in a direction that would be more appropriate for Smash Bros. As a game. Because obviously you're not just going to make like a really sleepy track and then just have a really tried and true arrangement and then put it in Smash Bros. And expect it to work. He does recount a situation. Where was this? I read through this earlier. He recounts a situation where, in the final round of a tournament for Smash for Wii U, the point where everyone should be as riled up as can be, the Roost theme started playing from Animal Crossing. Because even if you set a song to a low frequency, it will still come up every once in a while. I included it because I thought it was a good song, but that incident made me think I should be careful not to include too many songs that fit the occasion from now on, end quote. So obviously he had to steer a lot of these arrangements and these composers into a direction where you wouldn't find a track that would just be really, really sleepy. Just in case you're like in like a really high, maybe you got a bunch of friends over and you do a tournament and you get to the very final thing and all of a sudden it's like everybody's
with Smash
sleeping.
Ultimate, he's clearly put time into how this game is shown, because in a lot of cases, like, people watch this game. When other people are playing it, people will stop what they're doing and watch it, or in a lot of cases participate. But that's one small aspect that, like, I wouldn't have imagined Sakurai would have, like, noticed. But it makes absolute sense too, because of how important it is for moments like that. That tournament you're talking about, where the wrong song played at the wrong time. That's amazing. It's amazing that he's like that focused on making this game show well. Yeah. I mean, again, you gotta give Sakurai credit because he's so invested in this game and what it should be. Such detail.
Yeah, and there's so much detail, and there's a lot to work through. And so the fact that this game is coming out in December and hasn't had a 10-year development cycle is sometimes amazing to me. But yeah. So I just want to read like the final paragraph and final like 2 paragraphs. Among the songs that didn't get picked, some of them have been implemented as is. Some of them work just fine. Others don't quite as fit as well as I thought. That's how we decided which songs would make it into Smash. Now that I'm adjusting all these different songs with such rich histories, I see how impressive it is. It makes me think that there's no such thing as bad music in a great game. Even if a game's interesting points come down to taste, I think the music possesses an absolute objective strength. Thank you. Thank you, Sakurai. As a musician, as a music lover, I love hearing this kind of thing. Specifically talking about games and when people talk about music in games and how important it is, So I mean, that's it for Smash Bros. This week, unless, Paul, you have any more comments on the story?
No, there was nothing else that really jumped out to me here, but like I said, it's still impressive to me. Just like, I wouldn't think he'd take that upon himself. Yeah, I would have had like a music person that would kind of do that, but I love hearing that he took it upon himself to do or to work on that.
Right. Okay. Well, moving on into the general Nintendo news, Splatoon data miners have found the new date, may have found the new date for the Nintendo Direct. Supposedly, Nintendo 14th, September 14th.
That's a good day.
It would be a good day. It would mean we would possibly actually be able to stream it. That being said,
it's a good day for another reason, but
yeah. That being said, this is merely based on the fact that there was a rotation for September 7th within Splatoon 2. And there was supposed to be some gear that was supposed to be released on September 7th. And so that has currently been postponed to September 14th. And so I don't think this necessarily means that the Direct will be on September 14th. Just like a week after, right? Because it might take longer. It might be sooner, all that means is that they were just like, okay, at the very least, I'm like, oh, this is a safe date to say, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, I think that they interpreted it as it should, or it'll probably be no later than September 14th.
Yes.
Which I think is a safe bet.
Yeah. I hope that's the case. I'd love to hear about it sooner rather than later, especially since a lot of this other information that I imagine would have been in the Direct or may still be in the Direct to be featured into it. They're definitely going to have to rework some things for the Direct. We are not going to see the Direct as it was going to be. We're going to see what may just be an entirely different Direct with a lot of the same content.
It'd be kind of amazing if they didn't update it and then all the dates were just wrong.
Right. Oh, right now, September 7th. Oh, no. Who edited this? So that's interesting as always. Another piece of news that it was actually deleted. There was a suggestion from I think it was the editor of Kotaku UK, Laura Kate Dale, who has been a source for, well, not a source for leaks, because she's not the source necessarily, but she hears credible sources, and she tends to report on them when they are credible. And so she talked about earlier in the week about how a new game was going to be revealed and that we would find out about this at a later date. And that may have been another reason for the delay, which obviously I don't think they would have delayed it for a singular game alone. But I could see how if they were like, okay, we got to delay this, and also maybe this gives us a little bit more time to brush up on this presentation or whatever, right? To maybe the messaging wasn't right, or maybe they were trying to finish parts of the game before they revealed it. I don't know how this was, but the tweet has been deleted for unknown reasons. We can only speculate, but I don't like to speculate about this kind of stuff. So I imagine that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a brand new Nintendo title in this, upcoming Direct, be having replaced the original Direct.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Which is also just a really exciting prospect because new games, that'll be...
I like new games.
Yeah, everybody likes new games. I hope we see this new game soon. A milestone for Switch sales in Japan. The Switch has passed 5 million consoles sold in Japan alone.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is very quickly coming up on the PS4 in terms of total sales in Japan. I want to say last time I checked, the PS4 sales in Japan were just under 7 million. So I think by next year it will have passed it, easy peasy. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. By the way, this is coming from Nintendo Soup. And their source was just PR, just a Kadokawa PR. So it took 79 weeks for Nintendo to move 5,007,368 systems in Japan alone. The top-selling Nintendo Switch games are Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Kirby Star Allies, in that order. And it should not surprise you that Splatoon 2 is the best-selling Switch game in Japan.
Not at all.
They're very, very into Splatoon. as am I, but for some reason Japan.
I mean, I want to say in Japan, it wasn't the attach rate like over 50%.
Yeah, it's at 2.6 million copies sold. So yeah, that's a little over 50%. But I want to note the fact that, Legend of Zelda has, sold over 1 million copies in Japan alone, which I think might have happened once before. But or maybe not. But Zelda doesn't do as well in Japan as it does in the West. So the fact that they got 1 million people to buy it,
that's pretty impressive.
It's incredible. I mean, it's an incredible game. It's easy to sell games that are that good,
Yeah.
So this is awesome. The Switch is doing so well. And it's good. It's only a matter of time till it passes that 20 million mark, that 25 million mark, and it's sailing. It's sailing, and it is a good time to be a Nintendo fan. In other news, in terms of just the Switch doing really well, coming from My Nintendo News, Dead Cells on Switch is outselling the PS4 version 4-1.
Weird stuff like this all the time.
Yeah, it's like this isn't even surprising anymore. And there might be
I still love hearing it.
Yeah, there might be a myriad of reasons. Well, one, a lot of these indie games, right? There's not going to be like any graphical parity between the versions, right? Most of these games are probably running something like 1080p, which the Switch can run easy, and then obviously the PS4 runs 1080p, whatever. And so you're going to get pretty much the same experience, other than the fact that if you buy it on your Switch, you can take it wherever you want, So, I mean, indies just do incredible numbers on the Switch compared to like all the other platforms, including like things like Steam, Yeah. And this isn't to judge anybody who prefers it on a different platform or not, but like, man, Nintendo just kind of nailed it. And,
no doubt.
And yeah.
Proof's in the pudding.
And I imagine that this isn't the only time that we will say this. It definitely isn't the only time that we've already said it.
What up, comment?
Yeah, comment in the chat. But yeah, bring more games to your Switch, because your game will sell on the Switch.
I like indies on my Switch.
Yeah. I definitely haven't picked up Dead Cells, but I do want to pick up Dead Cells at one point. I'm definitely down for the roguelike games, especially things like Binding of Isaac, which is getting a new DLC pack, which I'm very, very excited for, and I guess I'm going to sink another 600 hours into Binding of Isaac.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. A little bit of Nintendo Switch Online news. This is kind of just like, wait, yeah, we assumed you could do this, but here's the confirmation. Coming from My Nintendo News, you can play online co-op as Mario and Luigi in original Mario Bros. On Switch Online. Not Super Mario Bros., but Mario Bros., the arcade game.
I'm going to guess that of all the games coming to the Switch in the online program, that this is one of those few instances where you could actually play a game simultaneously with another person.
Yeah.
And so I guess it is an important confirmation, but like you kind of said already, like I would have hoped that this would have been the case. If it wasn't the case, they're doing something wrong. It's
kind of a piece of like non-news, other than the fact that like, hey guys, Nintendo Switch Online is still a thing, and we want to highlight that we said this thing, and now we're going to talk about a specific game. This game, you can do this thing that you could do if you had the game on your NES.
Hey guys, our technology, our online system's so advanced, you can play a 25-year-old game simultaneously online with another person.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Don't be in the same room anymore.
Yeah, to address Conman in the chat, we are having my internet setup is a little shaky currently, and so this is what we're dealing with. No video feed for today, for the sake of just having a decent stream.
Our
so
beautiful
I hope you
faces
enjoy
will come back eventually.
our voices. Japan, Pokemon game director Junichi Masuda sharing news on Sunday, coming from My Nintendo News. I guess we're getting some more news about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee on Sunday, which is yeah. But also, it makes me wonder whether we would have heard about any of this on during the Direct. You know,
yeah, that's a good
maybe
question.
not. But obviously, this is a pretty big Switch title, so we probably would have. And so maybe we're getting information from this that we would have already known about. Give us more Pokemon. Give us more Pokemon. I'm excited to see how Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee does. I can't say for sure, again, whether I'll be picking it up myself, but you know how it is. When you're working on a budget, you got to make some really difficult choices.
Hustling ain't easy, man.
Conman in the chat is saying that he hopes we get a demo. I hope we get a demo too. Yeah. Because this game is different enough from the other games that I feel like I would need a demo. Also, we got demos, special demos, for the last few titles on the 3DS. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that we would get a demo.
I think it's a good case in this game. Let people try it out for free. You know, quit their mini panic attacks. You know, this is different. This is going to be different. This isn't the Pokemon you're used to. Just try it out before you judge too severely, and then you can make your opinion once you've played the demo, and then buy it because you want it. You just don't know it yet.
I think currently the biggest draw for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee for me personally is the fact that I get to see Pokemon in HD, right? We get this really pretty lighting engine, and then also you get to watch all the Pokemon follow you. Like that's part of the it, right?
Always wanted to see my trainer riding on their Pokemon. To like ride the Charizard just around the map. So not even like from area to area. It's just everywhere. You can ride your Charizard everywhere. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. So I guess just the visual changes outside of even just the graphics and the lighting. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Moving on. It seems one of the things that would have been revealed in the Direct was Yoshi. Well, not revealed, obviously. We've seen this Yoshi game for Switch, but it looks like it probably would have gotten a actual title, which appeared on Nintendo's official site, which was listed accidentally, which I don't know if it feels like it's accidental, because it was probably planned, but then obviously things fell apart, and then they just didn't change it, right? Because they were concerned with other things. So I don't know if it's even a whoops. Like this probably happened, and they're like, oh, well, that was inevitable.
I mean, it's not like you click on it and you get a trailer or anything. This is a small bit of information that we've been given, not even like that significant, honestly.
Yeah. So, man, this is a really, I don't know, a Yoshi's Crafted World. I have really mixed feelings about this title. Mostly because I made jokes, right? In our prediction stream, we were talking about what it could possibly be. At least I made a joke saying, oh, maybe it's Yoshi's Cardboard or something generic and like not a good name, right? And so I think Yoshi's Crafted World is kind of really underwhelming. Like I mean, think it's
it could have been worse. It could have been Paper Yarn Yoshi.
Oh yeah, I mean, not that like the Good Feel games are bad or anything like that. Obviously, Kirby's Epic Yarn did particularly well critically, and it had a nice aesthetic to it and all this other stuff. But again, these naming schemes aren't terribly creative, though it does kind of communicate, you know, what kind of game you're going to be playing and what you're going to get, right? So at least you're not being misled in terms of, you know, what you're going to get.
I mean, we gotta be honest though, like, we don't play Nintendo games for naming conventions because they're not good at it, historically. The Wii U. I rest my case.
Yeah. Though we did get the Switch. We did get the Switch.
They needed to switch it up, so.
They did. They did.
If they did another, like, Wii something, some other... Wii something else, I would have been upset.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on to our last story that we wanted to talk about for the Nintendo portion. Nintendo Switch game cases will say whether a game supports cloud saves or not. Yikes. And also coming from this, it seems that Splatoon 2 doesn't support cloud saves. I hope this isn't true.
And I understand why. I can understand why it doesn't, but it needs to, and that's something that, like, for right now, if it doesn't immediately get them, I can live with that because I don't have it now. But it's something that they definitely need to add because you put a lot of hours into that game. If anything happens to your Switch, you just lose that, and that's not okay.
So I'm curious, right, as to why this is the case, and whether it will stay this way, whether this was some miscommunication, because it just seems like for an online game, like specifically Splatoon 2, seems like you'd want to have the... Excuse me. You'd want to have the cloud backup for something like this, right?
Yeah, it's the type of game where you see people with like hundreds of hours into Splatoon 2. Yeah. And I think that they should be given that protection for that data.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to put that much time into a game, you should be able to back up that save file.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily want to like alarm anybody, especially if it turns out for whatever reason this isn't true. I would wait until Nintendo says something for sure. And then if it does turn out to be true, we should definitely be voicing our opinions and making sure that, you know, this is something that we want and that we need.
Absolutely.
So, we got a few more stories coming from third parties. Again, things that we probably would have been talking about because they probably would have been in the direct. Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition HD was announced for Nintendo Switch. As well as the other consoles, which seems really, really confusing. I want to know how different these experiences are, other than just visually. This is really weird. Square, what are you doing?
Trying to make money.
Yeah. I feel less bad about it because it's launched on all of the consoles, but like, I don't. I'm so like, this is so disappointing, right? Like, it's just, I don't have any desire to play the Pocket Edition of a game that I could buy on my PS4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I could buy the full game, the full pretty game, and but you're giving us the Pocket Edition. So is it just literally the same game with like different systems? Dream Drop Sora saying in the chat that why would you have the Pocket Edition on consoles when it doesn't even have the full story? So like you're missing story with the Pocket Edition.
Well, he added the point that I was kind of thinking of. Switch I can get, but PlayStation 4 and Xbox, they already have the normal content.
Yeah, so I wonder what they're trying to do.
The only thing I can't think of is maybe if it's cheaper on the other consoles that already got like the main game. But even then, like, why?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously anybody who bought Final Fantasy 15 is not going to buy this. Like, I feel pretty confident. And I don't feel confident in saying other statements like, oh, this might not be for everybody, but you might try it out. Like, if you played Final Fantasy 15, like, you're not going to buy this. So it's like they're selling a worse version of the same game. And then, yeah. Again, it would make sense if it was just like, oh, put it on the Switch because they don't have Final Fantasy 15. But then you're also going to release it on the other consoles.
I don't know, Common makes a point, though. This is the too long didn't read version of Final Fantasy 15. Perfect for a busy gamer guide.
But, like, of all the franchises, like, if you're too busy to play Final Fantasy, why just pick up the Pocket Edition of the 15th mainline title? You know? Because chances are if you're busy, you're not playing Final Fantasy anyway.
Because it's so long, man. Gotta get the short version.
I don't know. This is silly. This is like the silliest. This is the silliest piece of news. Welcome to the new segment, Silly News, with Brandon and Paul.
I will say that this podcast makes more sense than what was it? Crap, what was the franchise that they brought the third game over, but they didn't do the fourth? Saints Row.
Oh,
this makes more sense than Saints Row. I still have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, we'll find out about that at a later date. So we're just going to talk a little bit less about Final Fantasy 15 and a little bit more about the Mega Man 11 demo, which I did get the chance to play.
Yay!
They pitch you against, like, I can't remember his name. He's like Brick Rock or whatever, right?
Was it Brickman?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't finish the demo. I mostly just wanted to get a feel of how it played. It plays like Mega Man, but it also it feels really smooth as well. It controls really well. And some of the controls that they've utilized, kind of bringing it out of the 8-bit era, right? Mm-hmm. To a degree, because 9 and 10 were like throwbacks. They didn't really do much. They just kind of recreated those games within, a new story and stuff.
So is this kind of the like Metroid Samus Returns of Mega Man?
A little bit, except for the fact obviously it's not a remake, but I can see what you're saying.
Breathing new life into the franchise, making it kind of a modern
from what
style.
I saw, it doesn't bring too many new things into it, right? But when I talk about controls, like if you use the right stick, there's like a wheel for all of your power-ups, right? Yay. So if you collect like all 8 of your power-ups, you can change between them with just the flick of your stick, your right joystick, which I thought that was a really good concession obviously. I'm a big fan of just like, okay, we don't have to do too many things with this, but like, let's make sure we do the things that make sense, especially from a control standpoint. And I want to go back and I want to finish this. And hopefully it will inspire me to pick up the Mega Man Legacy collections, because I feel like that's a world that I would really enjoy that I'm not currently invested in. So maybe I'll pick up the Mega Man Legacy collections at some point. I have played a good chunk of Mega Man X. Those games are a little bit different, but they're fun as well. And so maybe come a few months, I'll be a Mega Man master, and I'll just know everything about those games. One of the other games that was announced for Switch was Civ 6, and this was the most pleasant surprise. I don't think we've ever gotten a mainline Civilization game on consoles. They've released like spin-offs. Like there was a spin-off like Civilization Revolution, I think it was called, on the like 360, but obviously it was a very different game. This is just Civ 6, and that's really exciting. I'm a huge fan of the Civ games, and Civ 6 is a good entry into that series, and I'm just glad to see it on a Nintendo console, and I might buy it again on my Nintendo console just so I can, I don't know, I feel I'd probably play it more if I had it on my Switch.
Went on the Switch, buy it again.
So if you guys are a fan of grand strategy, 4-time strategy games, Civ 6 is among the best. And so finally, I want to talk about one more thing, and the article here is just talking about a specific port of a Wii game to the Switch called Sports Party, coming from Ubisoft. It's another like Wii Sports Resort type game with a bunch of activities to have.
Ubisoft, at least do a Wii U game. Come on, guys.
Right. Well,
you're stretching a little bit here.
I feel like this is really lazy. It's just like a way to kind of just crank out like a few more titles without putting much effort or thought into it, right? I don't feel inclined to purchase Switch ports of Wii games that I've never heard about. I literally never heard about this game up until today. And that's because it looks generic to no end, right? And these are kind of the games I avoid because there's nothing.
We've talked to this a couple times, but more or less to mention that, hey, there's a Wii game coming to the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same case for Bandai Namco and Go Vacation, was it called? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay.
Maybe I'm thinking of Go Vacation, and I just legitimately thought this was that game.
Yeah, that's how generic these are. It's like the same. It's trying to achieve the same thing, but all these games were just trying to be, Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resorts. But they just didn't do it as well, and they were uglier, right?
What you're saying is you want Nintendo to port Wii Sports.
No, I don't even want to. I don't want to port. Please don't. Stop giving us like bad games as ports just because. And here's the thing. Okay, I should
say, I hear you.
I should say this. These games are not for us. These are definitely for the casual market, right? And so these are the games they're trying to release and trying to get moms and dads to buy it because they think their kids will enjoy it. Because and maybe there are some kids pointing like, wow, Sports Party. But chances are they're like, oh, Mario, right? And so this is like the extra game that the parents purchased for their Switch in addition to Mario and Mario Kart. Because they're like, oh, there's no Wii Sports on it, Wii Sports Resort, so we want a family game. Well, I think that's
one of the thing about this is that I do think the system needs games like this.
Yes.
Just not Wii ports.
Yeah,
Make a game, guys.
I wish there was more effort put into this.
Dream Drop ready to fight you in the chat.
Yeah. I want Me Sports Resort. I want Nintendo, and maybe that's the new game. I don't know. But I would totally dig this style of game if it was something new and it was something compelling like the Wii Sports series.
Well, this is definitely like it. I know the conversation at Ubisoft headquarters. Everything we put on the Switch sells well. Let's put this Wii game. That'll sell.
Yeah. And honestly, I think this game will definitely fly under the radar. Chances are what'll happen is we have just talked about it, and then in 3 weeks we'll forget it exists and we'll never think of it again. Until we see it on a store shelf somewhere and we kind of laugh and then forget about it again.
Until we see it bundled with a Joy-Con.
So I think ultimately this is a pretty inoffensive port. You know, like it's not like we're getting less just because we're getting, you know, ports of generic Wii games, right?
I wonder how much this is even going to run for. Hopefully it's not much.
Yeah.
If they're trying to get like a full $60 out of this, they can just not.
It's so generic.
This would be one of those games that, like, if I was Ubisoft, I'd make a deal with Nintendo. Like, hey, let's bundle this with a Joy-Con set for like $90 instead of $80.
Yeah. So
and let's get $5 of that.
The listing on Amazon Japan is for 5,184 yen, which translates to 46.7 United States dollars, which obviously won't be a 1-to-1. It could be a full $60. It could be $40, just depending on how they feel like it should be priced. But if you want to order from Amazon Japan, that's $46.70 out of your pocket. I would recommend not spending $46.70. Instead, what you should do is you should save another $13.30 and go buy Spider-Man for your PS4. But this is a Nintendo Stuff podcast. So
what if you don't have a PlayStation 4?
Buy Splatoon 2.
Save up for Smash Bros. Go
or Smash Bros. Buy something that's worth your money. Or just go take the $60 and go buy a Wii and Wii Sports Resort. You'll probably cost the same.
Yeah, probably.
And that's about it for all the news we wanted to talk about this week. It was a shorter episode.
It's not because we want to go play Spider-Man. What? You guys are crazy.
That is legitimately not the reason. There's just like less news this week.
I kind of spent less time looking through news too, but that's because I was busy playing Spider-Man.
And I think we were also a little bit depressed that we were like, oh no, there goes the Direct. And so everybody just kind of shut down, right?
Well, I was also depressed for other reasons, but that's not the point. The point is that we're here. And Spider-Man's here as well.
I do want to note Brandon in the chat, Tomodachi World on Switch, please. I'd be down for more Tomodachi life. Tomodachi Land as Dream Drop. Or Miitopia 2 from Conmen. I think we want more Mii representation. Like, we don't care about the Wii branding anymore, but we do like the Mii games. Like, those are some of my fondest memories on the Wii, right? Is having those more casual experience just branded with Mii's, right?
Tomodachi life in particular, I got so many updates over the years from Brandon about like my character in the game, and I somehow became invested in my Tomodachi version's life. Yeah. Like, I was upset there was like one birthday when my kids didn't come visit me in Tomodachi life, and I was upset.
I think I put about like 20, 30 hours into Tomodachi life. And then at a certain point, I just stopped playing it. But I think there's a case to be made that you could definitely improve upon the formula and increase its longevity as a game.
I mean, with Switch Online, now's the perfect time to figure that stuff out. And make
Yeah,
it more
but
engaging.
that's for Animal Crossing. I want Animal Crossing more than I want Tomodachi Life.
Why can't we just get all of it, man?
Because Paul, because you can't, because that's not a thing. You can't have it all. That's not realistic. You gotta
I disagree.
pick and choose. Well, it doesn't matter if you disagree because you're just wrong.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Get out of here. Get out of here. So anyway, lastly, Paul, have you been playing anything this week on your Switch or your 3DS?
On my Switch, I grabbed Semblance and I put a couple more hours into that.
Okay.
And I'm very close to being done.
Well, good. I can't wait to hear your final thoughts on that game. As for me, I have not touched my Switch this week. Any gaming that I have done has been on my PS4, and I'll talk more. I guess I can't talk more about that. Not this coming Monday because there's no Breakdown podcast this Monday because we're changing to a bi-weekly schedule. And so not this Monday, but the following Monday, you will have to look forward to our next Breakdown podcast. And that's about it for this week. A few things to plug. Paul, do you have any videos in the works? You got anything going on?
Well, I got another episode of Busy Gamer Guide that I'm working on that'll be out, I think, 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
But I did just drop a new episode of Busy Gamer Guide. I took a look at Bomber Crew for the Nintendo Switch, amongst other consoles. So that's live on the channel. Go check that out. It's a great episode. I'm not biased.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you haven't checked out that and you don't know what Bomber Crew is, please check out that video on the Break Room Arcade YouTube channel. As for myself, I'm working hard to make sure that I can get episodes of Smashing Tunes up weekly, which is quite the challenge, especially when I have been working quite a bit this week. For example, I have worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then as today, I'm working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then I'm going back to Springfield and working like Tuesday through Saturday. So I'm having like almost 2 weeks and no break days, which thankfully is the exception. It is not the rule, and I hope it doesn't become the rule. But I will make sure that the next episode of Smashing Tunes is up sometime next week. I'm aiming for Tuesdays. It might be a little bit late this week just because I've been so busy. But it will be up, and it'll be even better than the last episode. So look forward to that. As always, you can find us on Twitter at the Break Room Arcade. You can find Paul at Gunny Source. You can find me at Loggy Doves. You can find Brandon, who was missing for this podcast once again. Once again! Goodness gracious. Brandon's new nickname is Andre. If you don't get that, go listen to the Real Talk podcast from Game Explain over on SoundCloud. And you'll get what I mean after an episode or two. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter. You can join our Discord. You can, if you feel led, donate to us monthly on our Patreon. Also, the link is in the description below. And also join our Discord if you haven't already. And
then for the people in the back, join our Discord.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Discord. And that's it for the Nintendo Stuff podcast this week. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, as always, don't break your backs. Break in the games. But for now, break time's over.
Yay!